I am live. What great news that is. My friends, we are going to be going into First Kings chapter 15. You are very invited. I hope my internet's okay. We'll find out. Next week, in the next weeks I might be moving, and in which case I will have better internet. Here is hope. A man can dream. A man can dream. Please join us. Tell me why I'm wrong. Joke with us. You got 5 minutes, okay? 5 minutes. See you then. Hello, gentlemen. We have Yoav at his home. We have Matt in a library somewhere. We have a sentient rose bush. And then we have one other person who is watching right now. Wow. This is incredible television. What are you? Oh, those are balloons.
Yep.
I should have.
Yep.
Should have. You balloon
Okay.
even in the
If I'm
library?
if I'm gonna be sitting around for for an hour and a half, I might as well do something productive with my hands. And it takes a shockingly long amount of time to repack my bag.
Okay. Hey, Jason, what the hell are you doing watching
Oh,
when you could be joining, my friend? It's good looking. Jason is somewhere looking very attractive. I think Jason is a good looking dude. Anyway, I feel like that came up on some stream recently. Yoav, how are you feeling? Uh, what's going on for you?
Regarding
Life?
life is good to me.
What is the what's the energy like being on the ground in Israel right now? Are people like there were certain times where everyone was negative in Canada, you could feel it. How are people right
Uh, Remember, we were on a very extended vacation. First, there was August. Nobody works in August. You go
now?
to a vacation, and then we had a month of the holiday. That the beginning of the year holidays, and
The days of awe, if you will. Days of
nobody worked for a month.
yeah.
And now we're sort of going back to work, So how does one feel after a long holiday going back to work? Well, nice to see the friends again and have a chat. Trying to go over the email, remember how work is being done when it's done.
Yeah.
And
I've been to the home country, that being Malta for my dad. I've been to Malta 3 times in my life, 4 times, and he would always bring us for this festival of for Mary, because there was like amazing fireworks that you could see, and specifically Malta has something called land fireworks, which are exactly what they sound like. They're well, maybe they're not exactly what they sound like. Matt, you know how when you buy like a package of fireworks, there'll be like a wheel that you like nail to a post and it just like spins. It's like
oh,
all the
well
fireworks.
aware.
Yeah. Okay. So imagine that was actually like this big. Okay. It's that big, and that there's 20 of those on a larger wheel. So it's wheels within wheels turning with fireworks burning, and sometimes there's an image of Mary at the center. Anyway, this is what the Maltese do. This is how they roll.
Mary and fireworks.
Yes.
I kind of want to get my hands on some of those. They sound expensive. Are they blessed like an icon?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But so my dad would always take us for this one festival because he thought it was beautiful. But it's in August. So we would always travel to the Mediterranean in August. And I just remember cooking under the sun. And when I was in grade 6 and we went, I was just so used to not wearing shoes everywhere. Like I just would sometimes run around and I had thick calluses. But man, those roads, we could not, like, we went to the beach and we like left from the house to go to the beach, and it was so hard. We're just like burning our feet just to trying to get down. Yeah. You tried to connect me with your cartoonist cousin. I would love to talk to him. You just make him want to. And Matt, how are you? How are you doing?
All right. It's been a week, and then this morning I broke my coffee cup. I'm upset.
Okay.
I don't know.
It is what it is. Yeah.
It is what it is. I have to go back to the beach and get a new one. Oh darn.
Yoav, can I ask you for 10 seconds to just tell me whether or not you think there will be peace in Israel now?
Between the Israelis, never. Uh, the status quo ante was that you get a relative peace for a year or two, and then things flare up, and then things calm down for a year or two, and then it flares up. Maybe this time it will take more than 2 years. Maybe it will take 5 years till the next one.
I knew. I was like, if he's optimistic, it's doubling that time, but not no longer than that.
You should listen to the conversation between Chezi and Sam of yesterday. That was enough of optimism and good feeling too. I need to I need to counteract quite strongly just to get back to average.
I imagine you are not a depressed person, because I've known people who are optimists, and optimists are easily depressed. Like, I had a friend, he just always thought the good was going to happen, and when life just occurred the way life does, he was very upset. But you seem to be always expecting the worst, and I imagine it makes you very happy.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, let's go into our passage of scripture. And Matt, can I make you read? Would you be willing? Would you be willing to put the balloons for but a moment?
Give me 1 second to drop my bundle. All right. Okay. Chapter 15. Now, in the 18th year of King Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, Abijam began to reign over Judah. He reigned for 3 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Abishalom, and he walked in all the sins that his father did before him, and his heart was not fully true to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father. Nevertheless, for David's sake, the Lord his God gave him a lamp in Jerusalem, setting up his son after him and establishing Jerusalem, because David did what was right in the eyes of the Lord and did not turn aside from anything that he commanded him all the days of his life, except in the matter of Uriah the Hittite.
Okay, yeah. You paused, so maybe we should pause. I like how it just okay, we acknowledge mistakes were made.
But now this period of history, like, look, you gotta. The golden age was still the golden age, despite its failures.
We acknowledge, and to some extent, you're saying, look, okay, we did have that hiccup, so that you actually make it so that people can't criticize by saying, I acknowledge what you're going to bring up as the negative thing, but besides that, it was a lovely holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the day it rained, it was a lovely holiday. Yeah.
It's been a minute since I've been in Kings. There's all this phrase here, sort of like a stock phrase that gets repeated in the same way that in the North they talk about, did not turn from the ways of Jeroboam, giving David a lamp in Jerusalem. Does that recur?
The lamp is definitely part of the promise that God gave. Everything is evaluated by David. You do hear the stock phrase, like David his father, or did not walk in the ways of David his father. That certainly is there, and there's a couple of bits within here that you'll hear repeatedly.
Yeah. I know. Just seemed particularly striking, thinking of how the lamp imagery recurs in the book of Revelation, and the threat of removal from communion is removing your lamp as well.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting image.
Continue.
Unless Yoav has
why a
anything to
lamp?
say.
Why a lamp? What is a lamp? The Hebrew doesn't say a lamp.
Oh, fun. What does it say in Hebrew?
Could be a candle. Yeah, could be, the stuff, oil lamp. Yeah, the stuff, kind of a lamp that you put. It could be an oil lamp. Yeah, but they mean to say a candle.
Okay.
Eat him a candle in Jerusalem.
That's more like it.
That's almost more interesting because I mean, are candles liturgical the way that like the lampstands in the temple are? Is that like making a linguistic distinction? It's like
there's the expression. If you say about somebody let his candle light, meaning may his memory persist.
okay. Well, that makes sense here because it's in a sense like because like the memory of the good David did is persisting.
Yeah.
So despite the current failures, the good that David did is continuing to echo down through the generations, despite the fact that we don't see it.
Yeah. Like you light candles in a memorial ceremony. That's the spirit.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm sorry, friends, about that. I was I've bought a house, the first of all houses I've ever gotten. So there's random things that I have to answer at this time. Yeah, this is an interesting. Did you guys already answer this question from Jason?
No, it's just that when I read the lamp, I mean, it takes me time to remember that it was actually a candle. Okay. Because I'm modern. I mean, okay, lamp. But what about a lamp? They mean a candle because it was those days.
Okay, yeah. It is. I do like the image though of the light. Yeah, we even use that term romantically, right? Like still burning a candle for someone.
Yeah,
refers like to maintain, to keep going. Yeah. Okay, Matt, can we get you to continue reading?
Sir. All right. Now there was war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam all the days of his life. The rest of the acts of Abijam and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? And there was war between Abijam and Jeroboam. And Abijam slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David. And Asa his son reigned in his place.
Okay, good stuff. So this is without a doubt an expression that's seen over and over again. Slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David. Now, part of the importance of that is for the people who will not be buried in the city, where something happens and the remains aren't gathered. That is especially significant.
Yeah, you don't see that in the north because dynasties keep turning over in a pretty frequent pace. I think the most anyone gets is on the throne is 4 generations in the north, I want to say.
Yeah, that sounds right. Mr. Sartori, thank you for joining us.
Yep. What happened so far?
We went through doing something. Yeah, we went through one of the bad ones, not like David, and we're just about to hit Asa, one of the only bright spots. One of the only bright spots.
Oh yeah, I think I was on my way to South Estuary last week. You guys had it last week, right?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Yeah, so I missed it. I was out of the flow of things.
I'm glad you were able to go to one of the conferences. I'm disappointed it wasn't the conference I was at.
Well, I feel like you went to the one that was the conference for extroverts, and
Okay.
I don't know if I would have. I don't know if it would have been the maximal experience for me. So
Okay. I wasn't it also like a more Grail country
yeah, it was all like hippie woo guys.
Yeah.
So that's relaxing to me. Like that's like, you know, I just I know that they're gonna say weird stuff ahead of time. I'm not shocked by it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah,
just
yeah.
and it's almost like these people are so happy. It doesn't matter that what they say might seem like nonsense in some ways. Like I know that they are coming from the right place, whereas like with some of those other guys, I'm just always like, I don't know. Can I trust these people? I'm not sure. So
Interesting. Very interesting. Kirk, welcome. Would you like to read for us?
Sure. Starting in the 20th year.
Yes, yes.
In the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, Asa began to reign over Judah, and he reigned 41 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Shalom, and Asa did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, as David his father had done. He put away the male cult prostitutes out of the land and removed all the idols that his fathers had made. He also removed Maacah, his mother, from being queen mother, because she had made an abominable image for Asherah, and Asa cut down her image and burned it at the brook Kidron, but the high places were not taken away. Nevertheless, the heart of Asa was wholly true to the Lord all his days, and he brought into the house of the Lord the sacred gifts of his father and his own sacred gifts, silver and gold and vessels.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, thank you. So, I don't how do people pronounce this name? How do you pronounce this name, Yoav?
What name?
Asa.
Uh, Asa.
Asa. Okay, yeah, you pronounce it that way. I pronounce it Asa because I knew a bass player by this name, and so I'm just going by his name.
I was just Googling the meaning of the name because it's not trivial. I mean, Yerovam and Rechavam, just easy to understand in Hebrew. It's
Mhm.
a lot of people or much people or white people or whatever. Asa is a bit of a difficult word. It might be connected to healing.
Yeah, like a physician, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not a word that is ever used in common use.
That's an interesting idea if you're thinking about him, what role he plays within the nation. Um, hmm. Yeah. I always find these characters fascinating because they're not going to notice everything, right? Um, the high places were not taken away. I find that interesting. You're doing a reform, but there's only so much you can do. But he got rid of the cult prostitutes. Um, and yeah, I always wonder about what his home life was like. Why does this guy understand? Why does this guy know and try to do something different? If his dad was a real piece of work, and so was his mom, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you have it in America only. I mean, you have the 4 generation theory. Everything, I mean, generation rebels against the boomers.
Mm-hmm. That's good. There's a midrash about it's a very famous one about Abraham. It's so famous it's in the Quran about Abraham's father Terah making idols and like what it's like for for the adventures of Abraham growing up in a family that worships statues and how he would be different. Like what that, I always find that very interesting, like what that might look like. Joseph.
Hi.
Hello, sir.
To your question there, I mean, I think you need to look at the Book of Chronicles because Chronicles is the expanded version of what happens under the reign of Abia, and there's this massive war, 400,000 troops of Abia.
Oh, can anyone else hear him?
I cannot. He's
This is all in like 2 Chronicles 13, I think. So I think there's that sort of might give some basis of like why his son goes in a very different direction. And it is interesting because there, he does. He mocks the idolatry, like Avia, right, the father who allowed idolatry according to the Book of Kings, and Chronicles, like does mock the idolatry of the Northern Kingdom, specifically of Beit El, as being false. But then he, like, when he captures the city, he doesn't destroy the shrines that he was mocking. So there's like something weird there where like he had the power to actually stamp it out. He like doesn't, at least in words, agree with it, but then his actions didn't really match his words.
It's like the guy that said no, and he wasn't going to throw the ring into the fire there. That's Lord of the Rings. I saw Joseph there.
Yeah, hey.
We met. That was fun.
That was great. I got your book.
Wonderful.
So one way to read Asa is, in some sense, what his father said in words but did not do in deeds, Asa is actually doing in deeds.
Right.
Like he learned the words of his father and he's not repeating his actions or whatever phrases from the Testament. So like I do think there is something there where like I was maybe not, maybe I wasn't great, but like yeah, he just sort of continued what was already not great, but there is actually something there that put that, even in that not greatness, in that third and fourth generation, there was something where the little bit of good that was there actually does get amplified in his son. Maybe not the perfect, it still has a balance.
Do you I'm trying to think.
Like, there is definitely a kind of a continuation here in multiple ways of his father. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I do find the character of Asa particularly compelling when it's like what it looks like to be a bright spot to take things further. Yeah, I really, really admire the characters who do anything good in these times.
Like an entirely other war that they talk about that isn't in Kings that is really interesting, where he battles a Cushite army led by Zerach, and this is the battle with the Cushites, which we know is historically, like, they did come in, right? We know that they sent some pretty big forces north through Egypt, and were doing some pretty serious conquering at this period. That's going to become an image that's used in militaristic metaphors by the prophets from then on, right? We're going to have this idea of an
oh no, I think we lost Joseph.
And are kind of within the kingly court. but the idea of these very fierce Kushite warriors that have, especially I think on horses, and the famous thing about a Kushite changing their spots, like all those things start with this campaign that doesn't really get any play in Kings, but you hear about it in Chronicles, where they actually talk about Asa fighting the first time the Kushites kind of interact with us.
What's your intuition? Because you've talked about it before, but I think for anyone tuning in, what is your intuition as to why condense it in Kings?
I lost most of that. The sound cut out. But I think you asked me why there's a difference between Chronicles and Kings. Like, why is it condensed?
Yeah. For those who have not heard your theories before.
Oh, well, they're totally different. Like the authors of the two books have very, very different goals in mind, right?
Right.
Chronicles is almost entirely pro-Judahite. It's based, I think the core of it is based on the archives of the Judahite kingdom, though obviously a lot of stuff was added later. But it is a much more kind of, this is the insider view of what the Judahite kings actually cared about, and this is based on their court archives.
What is the purpose of saying one guy
has a big speech in Chronicles for his war against Rehoboam? There's a big speech that Asa makes like to rally his troops before the fight with Zerach, the Cushite. So you're going to have these like big speeches. It just has a different angle. It wants to be a little more historical, but it's also like I think it's a much more politically polemical of kind of justifying the Davidic kingdom, especially by the time the version we have comes out, or it's kind of completed, which is justifying Davidic rule of the descendants of David in the early Second Temple period. So like Zerubbabel, like think about like that, or Ezra, like right. So they're trying to justify the Davidic kingdom being like still solid in the Second Temple period, and they're doing so using these old preserved court documents that they're adding to. That is very, very different, and there's a reason why that book isn't in the book of writing. It's in the collection of what we call writings, not prophets. Right. Kings, the guy who wrote Kings, whoever that is, or whoever, maybe it's a couple people. In fact, right, multiple times as a source sometimes, but he is that author is much more comfortable criticizing both sets of kings, north and south, for failures. It is much more a critique of kingship itself as a institution, or as kingship at least was like how it actually played out, right? And it's always going to call out spiritual sins, right? Like you might think they're like these little details, like it's calling out the high places or the mifletzet, which is this weird monster idol thing. Who knows? And for that Asa gets rid of. It's going to focus on the spiritual sins, much more than Chronicles does, and it's clearly written with a theological polemic in mind, as well as kind of an anti-monarchical polemic. So it is much more, and for us, that's why it's included in the prophets. Right? This is a book of prophecy because this is a prophet, and the prophet's role in ancient Israel, at least, is to use his position within the court to critique the court. Right? Like he is one of the checks and balances. And that is very much what this book as a whole is attempting to do, is serve as a check and balance on monarchy in many ways.
Whereas, to oversimplify, Chronicles has a little bit of
Judah. It's pro-Judah monarchy, anti-Northern Kingdom, whatever. It doesn't have a problem with monarchy itself; it has a problem with the Northern Kingdom and the enemies outside of Israel, of course. So,
yeah. Okay, good stuff. Okay.
I have a question for Yosef.
Go ahead, yeah.
What is the monster? What is the mifletzet?
What is the mifletzet? That's a great question. It's not that's one question. There's this other. Sorry, I'm going to add to it. I'm not going to answer it because I don't know. Somehow the mifletzet in the text is connected to Ma'acha of Amon's standing as her role as Gevira, right? And we don't exactly know what this role was, right? We have a couple references to it. These like powerful women who sort of like stand behind the king. They're like the king's mother-in-law, or grandmother, right? And she's clearly the Gevira in Avia and the beginning of Asa's reign, and then the getting rid of the Mifletzet somehow.
It's always when he's about to say something amazing.
Probably Phoenician or Ammonite culture that to understand part of this, but somehow it's tied to to her and her role in the government, or in the spiritual government of Israel.
Do you buy what's his name? Father Stephen DeYoung is very, very big, especially the Orthodox, because of the role Mary plays within their theology of the role the Queen Mother plays. Do you think that there's something to that?
I think they overstress him. They also seem to. We don't. Queen mothers exist both in the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom. For some reason, he for a long time only would say they were a Davidic thing, and that's not true. We also know there is a Phoenician position of this kind of Queen Mother thing. There's also this weird conflation of Queen Mother versus wife, and that happens. I can't remember which psalm, but there's one psalm where they really like to use. He really likes to reference to this. But it's really talking about a king picking out a wife among princesses, but he wants to read it as he's kind of like a Queen Mother thing, which is very confusing to me. To me, there's weird conflations that go on there. I mean, there's definitely a role. There's definitely a role in Jewish or Hebrew. I don't want to call it in First Kingdom, first Temple period Jewish kingdoms. There was certainly such a role, just like their neighbors had such a role, the Phoenicians. But I don't know. To use it for Mary is going to be really tricky because most of them are not very good. They tend to be pretty corrupting influences, and most of because I don't think we hear about them at all in Chronicles, only in Kings. And Kings, of course, is going to call them out for their corrupting theological influences, right? So
there's more sneaky moms than there are righteous women nudging in the right direction.
Right. There are plenty of righteous women in the Bible. They're not. They're not. They're almost never the king's mother. The one.
yeah. That's what
The one potential exemption to that, and we don't know a lot about her in the text, but in Rabbinic Midrash we have a lot about her. Is Yeravam's mother, who is also an Ammonite. But there's a very big idea that she is like Ruth, basically. So just like Ruth kind of redeems the Moabites, this concubine from Ammon of Solomon sort of redeems the Ammonites. But then of course she's followed by Ma'acha, who's this awful Ammonite influence. So it sort of self-negates. Yeah.
Excellent. Sartori, I feel like you wanted to say. Yeah, go.
What about the theme of of overbearing Jewish mothers that I get from sitcoms? Is that accurate?
That is pretty accurate to the biblical text. Yeah, it's right there, man. It's literally. I mean, what basically what this is he's overthrowing his overbearing mother, right? That's what this little line is in chapter 15 here.
That's one of the bits of the Gospels that I read is so Jewish, when it's just Jesus, do you not see how you stressed out your mother and I? It is appealed directly that you've upset your mother greatly when he walks away, and I love that. It's just
That's
a little, yeah. Okay, let's go back to the text. Boom. And Kirk, you read last, and I think you brought us all the way down here. So, let's talk a little bit about war, Matt, if you would, for us. Oh, I gotta.
There it is. Found. Oh.
There. Sorry. That was me trying to help.
Okay. And there was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, all their days. Baasha, king of Israel, went up against Judah and built Ramah, that he might permit no one to go out or come into Asa, king of Judah. Then Asa took all the silver and the gold that were left in the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's house, and gave them into the hands of his servants. And King Asa sent them to Ben-Hadad, the son of Tabrimon, the son of Hezion, king of Syria, who lived in Damascus, saying, "Let there be a covenant between me and you, as there was between my father and your father. Behold, I am sending to you a present of silver and gold. Go, break your covenant with Baasha, king of Israel, that he may withdraw from me." And Ben-Hadad listened to King Asa and sent the commanders of his armies against the cities of Israel, and conquered Ijon, Dan, Abel Bet Makkah, and all Kinneroth, in all the land of Naphtali. And when Baasha heard it, he stopped building Ramah, and he lived in Tirzah.
Okay, let's pause there for 1 second.
First of all, it wasn't a present; it was bribery in the Hebrew text. Clearly pronounces bribery.
Beautiful.
Oh, okay. So they don't even like gloss over the language at all. It's graft and corruption. Filthy lucre.
He's bribing. I mean, yeah, it's not. You're not bribing like a judge here, but you're
Right.
getting the other army to attack. Yeah, I'm bribing them.
It conveys more of a notion of payment than as a hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Here's a fun present because I was thinking of you.
Yeah, but this is also like a kinship reciprocal gift culture. There's no such thing as like a gift out of the goodness of your heart. It's all relationship maintenance.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's also, I find it interesting the way he's taking these items from the house of the Lord. It seems, I don't know how we're supposed to feel about it. It took all the silver and the gold that was left in the treasuries of the house of the Lord and the treasuries of the king's house and gave them into the hands of his servants. Like, it seems, is this what's necessary for the nation?
Yeah. Okay. So let's do a little background for a second, maybe. Do you mind? Okay. So what's happening here, right? So right, Judah has been under Asa for 2 years. Right, Nadav was ruling after Yerovam. For 2 years, they had peace. Nothing was happening. They had a big war through Yerovam that you don't hear about in Kings so much, but it's just a one line, but we get a lot in Chronicles. Then there's like 2-year break. In that war, Judah had taken a lot of land from the northern kingdom. They got all the way up to Bethel, right? Before that, that's like, I can't remember. That's like 20, 30 kilometers in, though. Like that's a significant amount of land that they've taken. And Bethel becomes the southern border, like during that war, but it wasn't initially the southern border. Ramah is much closer to Jerusalem. It's only 9 kilometers from Jerusalem. So this is a war where the northern kingdom is trying to take back land that Judah has taken from it already. So there's a big kind of like attempt at undoing this. There's also this thing where like Baasha, who is Baasha? Do you remember? Baasha assassinated the last king of the northern kingdom, right? He kills Nadav. He was an assassin from Issachar. So like the south is stable, sort of, but only like, and it's been stable actually, even though there's a big war, like internally it's been stable for like 19 years now. The north just had this big political assassination. Things are going on. This new king, who is not of the line of Rehoboam, is taken over from a different tribe. He's not an Ephraimite or anything, right? And he took it over through assassination, which is like a sketchy way to take over anything, and doesn't necessarily give him a lot of claim to authority. And the way he's trying to rally his people is saying, okay, like, you don't know who I am, like, I'm a Ferrando, but at the same time, like, we're going to take our land back, and that's what we're going to rally to, and that's going to be like that will be what we focus on, and kind of, that territory is ours, and focus over there and not on my legitimacy, right? So that's sort of what's going on here. I hear you about like Asa taking the stuff from the temple. There's also like, right, he mustered all this weird phrase. He musters all of Judah with no exception. So you're supposed to have exceptions for like Levites and things, right? There's and like people just married, right? So like he's doing things that are kind of like not quite right. And they're also like there's this like weird thing with what they're doing at Ramah where they're taking apart the stones. Like Baasha seems to be trying to stop and cut off access between the two kingdoms, right? He's building these like walls of stone and wood and whatever, and they're trying to like break those down. So they may see this as like sort of a national war of defense. Like this is our land, Judahite land, that we need to like make sure it doesn't get taken back. They might, right? There might be like good excuses to like take that silver and gold. It's also like the treasuries were at the temple. It's just the way it was. Like physically, like that's the most defended spot. So if you're gonna fund your kingdom, like that is where you're gonna keep your stuff. Just I don't know how deep we want to go there. It's not really taking it from the temple necessarily. Right. Especially because Asa is going to help renovate and fund the temple, right? That's one of his like projects. So like I don't necessarily know that this is necessarily a big problem.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that it's not entirely stated what the purpose of these things are, because this might be exactly what it's for. Mm-hmm. He's investing. I don't feel like he's not spending it on drugs,
Right. This is national defense investment. There is this weird thing where in Jeremiah it says they build like a big moat or pit or something. So it seems like on the one hand, Baasha is building like a wall, but Asa is building a pit. So it's sort of or a moat around it. Like so maybe they're both trying to cut off access to each other. It's like it's weird. Like and when there's also this different imagery of building something up, which literally the word Ramah means high, versus like sinking something down. To prevent access is kind of just a weird, interesting vertical kind of difference. Mm-hmm. And we have, in fact, found such walls around or near Jerusalem. They're Jerusalem, not Ramah, but we have found like they would build these massive trench kind of things. They weren't moats exactly in the medieval sense, but like they had these defensive trenches that were like pretty darn strong, massive stone, like enforced structures. So we actually have archaeology of these types of things.
Interesting. Okay, can we move forward, or does anyone have anything they want to add? Okay, then Kirk, I'm gonna ask you to read from verse 21, if you will.
And when Baasha heard of it, he stopped building Ramah, and he lived in Tirzah. Then King Asa made a proclamation to all Judah, and none was exempt, and they carried away the stones of Ramah with its timber, which Baasha had been building, and with them King Asa built Geba of Benjamin and Mizpah. Now the rest of all the acts of Asa, all his might, and all that he did, and the cities that he built, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Judah? But in his old age, he was diseased in his feet, and Asa slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, his father, and Jehoshaphat, his son, reigned in his place.
It's Jehoshaphat, who's famous for jumping. Yosef, I laughed the first time I was reading through. No, it was this. Like the third time I had read through Kings, I laughed when I got here because I was just learning about Hebrew euphemisms. What is the disease he got in his feet? Is it just that he got trench foot? He had gout. What happened to the man's feet? Is there some sort of any kind of midrash? I don't know if you're talking, I can't hear you right now.
Sorry. Yes, there are. So it's not a euphemism generally. None of the commentaries actually, I know, take it that direction.
It's just it was very early on, and I liked the idea of he was a really good king. He did get the clap when he was older, but
he was a good king, except he incited Ben-Hadad to take like half of the territory of Israel, right? Like and I think like there's this weird thing, this ambiguity. Like, why doesn't the text critique that? Do you think it would say like, hey, maybe like yes, but Asa and Baasha did like to cut passage off from each other, and this like having this war for like whatever 20 years or 25 years, whatever it was between them was like bad. But there's not really a critique in this text of Asa, and it seems pretty positive, except this one thing, right? Like, and in some sense, it might be sort of symbolic of like two different things. One, when he mobilizes all those people to war, right? So soldiers, Anche Regel, right? So like there's a play there with kind of a foot soldier and like over mobilization, sort of, which is being critiqued. That's one way to take it. And you see that in the Talmud, for instance, saying that he should have given people exemptions. There's another place that takes it a little differently, which is by sort of inviting a foreign kingdom to turn on its ally.
Always reliably when he's getting to the point.
Like that, he's basically like shooting himself in the foot, right? Because like it's going to start a pattern in history that's going to be very dangerous for both kingdoms, and maybe he shouldn't be. So I really like the fact that we have this metaphor shooting yourself in the foot in English too, because in some ways, it just works like that. Like, so the critique is very subtle, and it's like, yeah, maybe this time it was okay, but like, what have you started? Like, you've hurt something in your very foundation by like starting this pattern. And we can say, like, did he really start the pattern? There's sort of already like a lot of foreign intervention appeal in the Solomonic and Yerovam kind of back and forths. So maybe like we shouldn't put too much on him, but he's certainly not making it better. And they do, like, they lose the Galilee, basically, the Northern Kingdom, because Ben-Hadad comes in and like he conquers Dan and Metula and the Hula Valley, right? Like he conquers this huge area up north. It's big.
I want to bring in this comment that Matt was making
Yes.
and ask your thoughts on it, because trenches are known to be bad for the feet.
It is an interesting point. I've never seen it connected before, but I could, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Matt,
do you have any idea how high a praise that is coming from Yosef?
No, I like the idea. It's cool. It could be trench foot from like, if we're just going to go from kind of a, science explanation. Like, that's very possible. It is also interesting because there's a very famous verse. I think you guys probably know it too, because I think it's quoted in the New Testament. Not that you wouldn't read our Bible, but in Jeremiah, right? A voice is heard in Ramah. Rachel is crying for her sons who are no more, right? So this is that Ramah, right? This is the Ramah. There's kind of a question of why does it call out Ramah in that verse? Like, it's not like a city that gets a lot of other attention. So there is an idea that like here, what she's crying over is this war, like the civil war, basically. Like the fact that the Northern and Southern Kingdom are at civil war, that they're cutting each other off, that they have this like sort of just hatred for each other, and that's and that's really why she's crying.
And that it's total, right? She's crying for her children who will never return.
And Rachel's children herself are split north and south.
Sort of. Ramah is in Benjamin, so like it's in a Rachel territory, but Benjamin does go a little further north than this. Usually, whether Benjamin is north or south is kind of a big debate, honestly. It's the border lands, and like it's very clearly northern in like the Saul stories and in the original kind of beginning of the David story. It's certainly after the destruction of the Northern Kingdom, Benjamin just becomes part of the Southern Kingdom, like it's Judah. Like Benjamin gets destroyed partially, but like a lot of people from the north end up in Benjamin, and like the territory that's left becomes Judahite. And like it's certainly part of the Judah kingdom during like the destruction of the temple and kind of into the early Persian period, where like the Gedaliah, right, the last kind of Jewish governor of the province for a long time, like he is based in the capital Benjamin because Jerusalem is destroyed, right? So like there's a point where it transitions. It's not always clear, and to me at least, like where like Kings and Chronicles, like how they divide like when Benjamin starts getting considered more southern. we can talk about it. I asked, yeah, like it seems like it wasn't, and it's not like it's always switching sides. It's just like where the border is just keeps moving. Like in this piece, right, where Ramah and Beit El are kind of these fighting zones, and Benjamin has cities in those zones. I imagine a lot of people outside the cities were devastated. I'm not sure how. Like, there's probably a lot of destruction. There's probably a reason why most of the Benjaminite places are fortified cities, because there's war, for probably at least 30 years between two different kings, right? These multiple civil war rounds in this period at least. So they, yeah.
Question: did Aram Damascus conquer the north of Israel, or was it just a raid?
I believe it was conquest, because they try to take it back at some point. So I think they do actually take it. It has to be reconquered, if I remember. Now that may not be the whole territory, but I'm pretty sure so at least some of those cities are like theirs after this point for a while. Right, we're gonna have a couple of Ben Hadads. Like we don't know if they're the same or children or grandchildren. Right, they're gonna keep using that name. Right? He's gonna keep coming back, and
Right.
they do seem to have actual territory though.
Yeah, all the way to 20th century Lebanon.
Yeah, basically, and southern Syria. But yeah, Aram Damascus is clearly more Syrian, but the other side of the Lebanese anti-Lebanon mountains.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we got two more little kings to cover, so let's get through it so that we can say we did the chapter, shall we? Skankenstein.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
So
Yeah, give us
Nadab. Yep. Nadab, the son of Jeroboam, began to reign over Israel in the 2nd year of Asa, king of Judah, and he reigned over Israel 2 years. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord and walked in the way of his father and in his sin which he made Israel to sin. Baasha, the son of Ahijah, of the house of Issachar, conspired against him, and Baasha struck him down at Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines. For Nadab and all Israel were laying siege to Gibbethon. So Baasha killed him in the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah, and reigned in his place. And as soon as he was king, he killed all the house of Jeroboam. He left to the house of Jeroboam not one that breathed until he had destroyed it, according to the word of the Lord that he spoke by his servant Ahijah the Shilonite. It was for the sins of Jeroboam that he sinned, and that he made Israel to sin, and because of the anger to which he provoked the Lord, the God of Israel.
So we've gone backward in time now, right? Because we had a story about Baasha fighting already, right? But now we're going back and explaining Baasha's backstory. But to do that, you have to say who Nadab is and who Baasha is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It is very interesting to examine this from the perspective of seeing how God is using people that he doesn't particularly like to accomplish what has been promised and what's necessary. There's a justice that's coming out in these stories, but you have to pay attention to see it.
Yeah, but it's also interesting because there's you have to kind of keep going a little further into the next chapter. But like Baasha, he's doing the thing that the prophet said, but actually later it's going to say he didn't actually have the right to do these things. He wasn't the right person.
Yeah.
So he's going to sort of get in trouble for this, and like also sort of have the same sort of ending to his story because he did what he shouldn't have done, even though it was what the prophet said. It's like, is God working through people he doesn't like, or are people thinking that God's working through them?
Yeah, well, because
it does sort of like the David continually sparing Saul despite being granted Saul's kingship. It's the not seizing providence into your own hands.
But we are told that this is fulfilling what God has said, and the way that I compare it, like when I was studying this passage leading up to this this week, one of the things I was thinking about was my brother, right? Is where like a sibling will be put in charge temporarily, but they take too much authority to themselves, right? Like my brother used to beat me up a little, right? So you'd get okay, I deserve to be punished. I broke the rules of the house, but not to this extent and not actually fully by you. You were supposed to hand me over for punishment, not for you to do it yourself and not to do what you did.
Yeah, well, if you remember back when I was commenting a little bit on these streams on the Book of Ruth, and commenting sort of meta, commenting on the New Testament, there is this like thing where people like think that the Bible's talking about them, and they try to live out that story as opposed to kind of just like their own lives. They try to see themselves within the Bible, and that usually doesn't end very good, right? So they see themselves in the prophecy, they see themselves in whatever it is, and that doesn't work. And in some ways, like the Ruth story sort of is an anti-version of that. And you have to go back to those streams probably to see my whole argument for why that is.
Yeah,
but
no, I remember you talking about it, and I also wonder though about your thoughts on when people see opportunities before them, and that this is an opportunity for them to act righteously, and that they would use biblical passages to justify righteousness.
It's one thing to act righteously. It's another thing to say, I'm the guy that verse is speaking about.
Right.
Those are two very different things. And in fact, there's this great line in Isaiah, I think it's like 41, where it's like, there's no one as blind as someone who's acting in the name of the Lord.
Right.
And you flesh this out in like the Ruth streams from
somewhere
channel?
like second or third chapter. I had a whole discussion.
I was recently talking with somebody a lot about John Brown, the pre-Civil War figure, and he's definitely the kind of guy who sort of like sees providence into his own hands in a very particular way.
And I'd say like this is, one, it's super common around like American kind of dispensationalist, groups.
Mm-hmm.
It's super common among a lot of apocalyptic groups. You see it in Qumran. I would say you see it in early Christianity. Like it's sort of just like a mark of sort of apocalyptic Judaism or Christianity as people who just like see themselves as like, look at the people who started like the Jehovah's Witnesses and stuff, right? They really thought like this is the time, this is happening right now. We are living it. We need to like try to embody these characters, which is a very different thing than just like saying, I'm going to do the commandments and like, God will like, we'll do whatever is right. I'm going to do what's right, what God told me to do. But like, I'm not going to think I am this king, this Messiah, this, this person in this prophecy.
Go ahead, Kirk.
I was just going to say, as someone from Mississippi, which is a very Christian Zionist state, I think I know what you're talking about.
I would imagine.
As part of what it was, Matt, is that I read Ruth as an undoing of the sin that creates the Moabites, because of the uncovering of Lot by his daughters. That's why Ruth is repeatedly called daughter over and over and over again within the text. She's Ruth the Moabite, and like that's who she is, and that's how the Moabites were created. And then she re-enters in like her lineage re-enters the story through an act that looks like how Moab was created, but to me is her acting righteously. And people like Boaz and Ruth within that story, I don't think you get no indication from the story that they believe that they are undoing the sin that created Moab. You just get this sense that they're doing what's right, and through that they just so happen to be undoing that and bringing Messiah into the world, right? Because through them following Torah, they are bringing Messiah into the world.
I'd say that's half of it, right? Because she's also undoing the sin of the Moabites of not providing food and water.
Yeah, no,
right?
no.
She's, but yeah,
in the way she takes care of Naomi, yeah. Or sorry, Mara at that point.
Also the way that Boaz takes care of her, he offers her the exact things the Moabites denied the Jews. So it's also like it's not just that she's doing things, but it's that the relationship is being repaired in both directions.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it? What is that called? The hippies when restorative justice has occurred between the two lines.
Literally just tshuva. Tshuva is restorative justice. You don't have to reference the hippies.
I know, but it's okay. Let's get back into it. I can't remember. Did I just ask Matt or did I just ask Kirk to read?
You asked that.
I think we finished.
No. We have to. We still got this little end bit.
Okay.
So will you read for me?
Turn.
Yeah, Kirk, from 31 all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Finish
Now
this.
the rest of the acts of Nadab and all that he did, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Israel? And there was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, all their days. Baasha reigns in Israel. In the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah, Baasha, the son of Ahijah, began to reign over all Israel at Tirzah, and he reigned 24 years, and what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and walked in the way of Jeroboam and in his sin which he made Israel to sin.
Okay. I don't.
And then
Does anyone have any comments on this? No. Okay. Well then, excellent. Glad that I had everyone here for this week. This is a good showing. Good showing.
The only thing is I had something to say earlier about what Yosef was saying about people thinking that they're doing prophecy in the modern day, which
Yeah.
is I don't know if Yosef heard the story, but there was a Reform synagogue in I believe New Jersey, which was chanting the Haftorah, but they replaced it with the quotes of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I think they had a bit of a messianic complex there. Do you remember that story, Yosef?
Yeah, I haven't heard that story. It's possible. I mean, one could also use my critique to talk about Zionism, and I'm sure that would be a whole other discussion. So it's certainly not something foreign to modern Judaism either. But yeah, it's definitely an ongoing discussion today.
Good stuff. All right. I'm going to get going. I don't understand what's so great about your shirt. Would you like to say why your shirt is great?
I don't know. I like the pocket in the front here, but I don't know.
Is it?
You'll have to tell me.
Is it made from wool from one of David's sheep? What are we talking about?
Yeah,
No.
I've inherited it generation to generation.
There's a midrash about his sweater.
The Lador Vador sweater.
Okay. Thank you guys. I'll see you later. Talk to you next week. Okay. Bye.
See you later. Bye.
See you guys. Bye.